Welcome to The Explainer. So today we are diving headfirst into the core philosophy behind MicroStrategy's pretty groundbreaking and, let's be honest, controversial Bitcoin strategy. Now, this is a story about finance for sure, but as you're about to see, it's framed as something much, much bigger. You see, to really understand what MSTR Star is doing, you have to look past the balance sheets. You have to understand the mission, at least how its biggest supporters see it. This isn't just some boring corporate treasury decision. No, they see it as a fight. A real fight for a totally new kind of future. For shareholders, yeah, for the company, of course, but ultimately for all of humanity. So what is this mission exactly? Well, it's all about something that goes far beyond just making money. Okay, so for the CEO, Michael Saylor, the narrative is that this has nothing to do with getting personally richer. I mean, he's kind of past that point, right? The real focus here, the big goal, is all about his legacy. It's about making a massive impact on the world by creating and unlocking a ton of value on a global scale. And here's the end game. The big vision is to take Bitcoin and transform it from just, a thing you buy and hold into a brand new kind of financial tool. They call it a digital credit machine that literally anyone on Earth can access. We're talking about building a whole new foundation for finance from the ground up. Okay, so that's the big, grand mission. But how does that actually work day to day? Especially when the markets are going completely haywire? Well, it all boils down to a really, really simple, almost unbreakable code. And I mean it when I say simple. The entire strategy, the whole playbook, has been boiled down to just 2 rules. That's it. This is the mantra. It guides every single decision, and it's designed to take all the emotion, all the complexity right out of the equation. And this is where things get really interesting. Think about it. Most investors, what do? They run screaming from volatility, right? But in this philosophy, it's completely flipped on its head. Volatility isn't a bug, it's a feature. It's seen as a gift, a chance for the true believers to scoop up more of the asset on sale. And look, this isn't just some nice-sounding theory they talk about. They actually put their money where their mouth is. Just think back to that brutal bear market in 2022. I mean, the value of their holdings was way down, deep in the red. But did they panic? Nope. They just stuck to the plan and kept on buying. So, what's the big idea that makes all of this conviction possible? Well, it all hinges on this core concept, this thing they call digital capital. So, in this way of thinking, you have to stop seeing Bitcoin as just, a currency or some kind of tech stock. It's framed as a totally new form of capital, a pure economic energy that in theory can last forever. The whole idea is that it acts like the ultimate settlement layer for value, kind of like the role gold played for thousands of years. All right, so here's the really crucial distinction. The whole belief is that this digital capital, Bitcoin, goes up in value faster than the cost of borrowing money to buy it. This is what makes the company, in their words, positively polarized. What does that mean? Well, it means that in theory, every time they raise more money to buy more Bitcoin, they're actually creating value for shareholders. It's the total opposite of how we usually think about debt, which is seen as negatively polarized because, it just eats away at value over time. Now, here's what's so fascinating. You might think this is all super new, cutting-edge stuff, right? But the core idea is actually rooted deep in financial history, like centuries deep. Yeah, we're talking about a direct parallel to the 1780s. Back then, the British government needed to stabilize its finances, so they issued something called consols. What were they? Basically, they were perpetual bonds. That means debt with no expiration date, all backed by gold. It created this incredibly reliable, long-term way to manage capital for an entire empire. Okay, so fast forward to today. The argument is that MicroStrategy has basically rediscovered that same elegant, super long-term logic, but they've applied it to our digital world. They're creating these modern financial instruments that act a lot like those perpetual bonds, only this time they're backed by what they call digital gold. And this slide really paints the picture of where this is all going. We're talking about a vision for a totally reinvented financial system, one that runs on digital rails. Imagine securities that are tokenized, that you hold yourself, and that you can trade instantly, anywhere in the world, 24/7, at the speed of light. That's the dream. So when you boil it all down, what are you really betting on with this strategy? Well, it comes down to a super concentrated bet on 3 key things. First off, you're betting on the team, on their conviction and their ability to actually pull this off. Second, you're betting on the vision itself, this revolutionary idea of a whole new digital financial system.
And last but not least, you're making a fundamental bet on the asset, on the idea that Bitcoin really is this thing called digital capital.
And all of this leaves us with one last, pretty provocative question to chew on. Are we literally watching the creation of a brand new blueprint for what a 21st century corporation can even be? A new way to create, store, and use value in this digital age we're all living in? Well, that's a story that's still being written.